The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Greenblatt with Chaikin Analytics. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for What Now? What happened in January and what to expect in February. Our presenter today is Joe Bacella. Joe was mentored personally by Mark Chaikin and John Schlitz and works with individual and professional investors at Chaikin Analytics every day to maximize their trading performance. Joe has coached thousands of investors focusing on developing a disciplined approach to investing with an emphasis on an unwavering core methodology. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all registrants. Please submit your questions via the GoToWebinar chat window if you have any. So, Joe, let me turn it over to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. Thank you very much to Michelle for that great introduction. Again, my name is Joe Bacella, Director of Client Success here with Chaikin Analytics. I think the question on everybody's mind, to sum it up in one way or another, is what now? Where do we go from here? What in the world has happened in January, and what can I expect going into February? As Michelle mentioned, this presentation is being recorded. So if you'd like to check out a recording afterwards, make sure to watch for an email to be sent from us tomorrow morning. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're here to cover today. Actually, before I do that, let me tell you just a bit of background here. So why should you spend time listening to me talk about the overall market? What credibility do I have in order to take an hour out of your day today to talk about this? Well, I've been born and bred out of the 2008 financial collapse. What I know is volatility, right? So I was actually working at a real estate firm back in 2008, and I'll never forget the CFO of the company coming out, just wringing his head and couldn't believe it, just saying, "I can't believe the Dow just dropped 700 points." At the time, I had no idea what that meant. Obviously, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know how historically bad. I'll never forget that day because, again, that is the very first impression that I had on the stock market. And since then, I think we can all agree that there's been plenty of uncertainty, plenty of pessimism on the overall market, plenty of strong performance, of course, as I witnessed when I shifted my career over to the Vanguard Group, but certainly plenty of uncertainty and volatility in between. I've been able to sharpen my skills by being tutored one-on-one with Mark Chaikin as well as John Schlitz, our chief strategist. And so I'm here to share with you the best practices that they have shared with me. This is a consistent, disciplined methodology that will make you successful in the market. And again, my key thing is ultimately it is possible to beat the market with an emphasis that make sure you're using Chaikin Analytics to guide you through to that success. If Chaikin is a familiar name to you, you've probably seen it on a variety of news outlets, whether it's Bloomberg, CNBC. I know Fox Business, Mark was just on there at the closing bell a couple of weeks ago. We've seen Chaikin Money Flow on a variety of other sources. So if this is familiar to you, just here's a nice little reminder for some of the places you've seen us before. So what we're going to talk about over the next 45 minutes, I want to go over a checklist that I assembled, Mark and John assembled, that I'm going to share with you that, again, can make you successful in the market. We're certainly going to lead with our main topic of the power gauge rating. I want to tell you a bit about how this is assembled and ultimately where it leads you. Can you just profit as a long-term investor, or can you also profit if you're trading options? I'll answer that question for you. We'll talk about Chaikin money flow and relative strength in order to fine-tune your analysis. If one of your challenges in the market is being able to identify the right point to buy, also at the same time, finding the right point to sell out of a position, you'll really enjoy the content that I have for you for Chaikin money flow and relative strength. In fact, take a moment. Michelle mentioned earlier, we have the chat window available. I'm going to do a Q&A at the end of our session. Go ahead and type in right now. Let me know if entry and exit points is a challenge that you experience. Go ahead and type in the word yes if that's something that you've really struggled with throughout your investing career, however long you've been doing it, maybe just a couple of months, maybe a few years, or maybe even a few decades. We have a lot of subscribers who have quite the experience. So let me know. Type in the word yes. Go ahead and find the GoToWebinar chat window. Let me know if that's one of your challenges. What I'm really here to emphasize today, I always go through these main 5 bullet points, but one that I'm really going to spend some extra time on and help you with is where to go from here. What can I expect in February? And how we do that will be by analyzing the market as well as doing some sector analysis. We're going to spend some time with the energy sector and give you our perspective on it. We'll tell you how you can become up to speed with some significant technical trends using our signals, buys and sells. We have a wonderful screener that I'm going to demonstrate this with. And then, of course, we're right in the thick of earnings season, right? So we're going to talk about how you can identify some earnings plays using our program. So if it sounds good, go ahead and type in yes. And again, we're going to move right along here. Like I mentioned, we're going to start with the power gauge rating, so that guiding force, the kind of the GPS for your investing career. Now, let's remember, let's go ahead and put ourselves in the proper mindset, right? So, what I know right now is again uncertainty, so to speak, right? I think we're all really getting a hard dose of this right now. So you can imagine going through these times without any kind of guidance, whether it's the 2008 recession, which everybody got blown away by, but ultimately how that impacted where you went from here, right? Think about what we're in right now for January, right? The big question, I know everybody, I'm sure a lot of people are probably thinking about what about the price of crude oil? I'm sure that's a big thing. There's plenty of unrest politically. Obviously, we're in an election year. The Chinese market is a huge concern. The Fed today decided not to raise rates, which is pretty much what we expected, but it's reigniting that conversation again. So there's so many different forces at play here, which is why I really want to emphasize with the experiences we had, we really want to be able to identify something that can give us some clarity on the market. So simple but powerful, the single power gauge rating, right? How do you determine whether to buy a stock, whether to short a stock, right? How do you determine what kind of condition a stock is in and get a sense for where it's likely to go over the next 1 to 6 month time frame? So another challenge, again, like Michelle mentioned, I hold a lot of one-on-one sessions, a lot of group sessions with our subscribers, and one of the most prevalent themes that I get from new subscribers, information overload. There's so much information to take in. Think about all the different periodicals that you can read. Different news stations that you can watch. I know CNBC, they're always kind of driving viewership based on emotion, right? And that's certainly really the antithesis for how we make decisions with our program here. So what we instead focus on is definition, right? We're looking at 20 defined factors here that we identify and that we prioritize in order to determine our outlook for stocks. All right. So you can see 20 of them here broken down by financials, earnings, technicals, expert opinions, right? So all of these four main categories, as well as the 20 underlying. If you're ever wondering why we have a rating that we do, it goes right back to the 20 factors that we see here. And again, this is giving you a forward-thinking outlook. We're not just looking back on how a stock has recently performed, but rather we're giving you a projection. Where is the likelihood of the market or an individual stock headed? A stock that reported earnings after the close yesterday, and a stock that I think everyone is familiar with, is Apple, right? I just want to give you an example for a stock here in general for how how our power gauge rating can guide you with your performance here. So we're looking at a 12-month chart right now for Apple, and if you reference about the second quarter of 2015, that's right around where, whether you realized it or not, when Apple was starting to lose its momentum. Now, if you reference down at the bottom of the page, you'll also see a summary of our power gauge rating, right? So you can see in the past what our rating for our stock was. Well, if you'll notice, right around the end of April, we really started to lose our bullish momentum here. Power gauge rating, despite the fact that the stock continued to do well over the next couple of weeks, again, was identifying that with more of a longer term outlook, that the stock's momentum was starting to dry up. This is a wonderful opportunity to begin to think about whether you should be exiting a position, regardless of all the hype that goes on with Apple, right? Mark and Sandy both like to say that anyone who is interested in Apple probably already owns Apple, right? It's such a massive stock, biggest stock on the market, right? So the key thing rather is, instead of making your decisions based on perception, perhaps based on emotion, right? You need a disciplined outlook. And this is exactly the kind of example that we look for a stock like Apple when it comes to our power gauge rating. So that's one stock, right? So one out of thousands that we have available. So how do we make sure that the power gauge rating actually works for more than just a one-off situation? Obviously, we do some back testing, right? So what we've done, model performance life to date, so since 1999. Simply enough, bullish power gauge rating, very bullish power gauge rating outperforms your average stock. Bearish and very bearish underperforms the average stock, right? So not only are we looking at growth, but we're also looking for depreciation. So this is if before, when I used to drive to work, right now I take the train, which is much more convenient, I think. But when I drive, even if I'm just going to and from work, right, or to and from home or whatever, I'm always using a GPS to be aware of traffic, road closure, maybe a shorter route that I'm not aware of. I know how to get home, but I'm looking for the best way to get there. And that's exactly what our power gauge rating does for you. So we've seen it work life to date here. And so we started thinking, well, how can we really expand this? Well, Mark, given his 5 decades on Wall Street, as you can imagine, he met one or two people who are pretty influential, right, including himself here. So he struck up an agreement with some people over at NASDAQ, and we said, we have NASDAQ indices right here. But what would they look like and how would they perform if they were managed by the power gauge rating, right? If I'm looking at bullish or very bullish stocks only. And you can see how the performance has improved based on focusing on stocks with a bullish outlook. So as you can see, between a large cap, small cap, and dividend fund over at with NASDAQ, as it's guided by the power gauge rating, each one has outperformed, right? So it's giving us some fantastic guidance that we need. I want to go over a profile with you now. Let's start putting the picture together because we're going to move along with our 5 steps, but I want to start giving you more of a complete assessment here. At Chaikin Analytics, we provide a lot of support in order to help you understand what we mean by a classically bullish stock. Excuse me. And here's a preview for what we mean by this. Yes, we want to be guided by the power gauge rating. That's the first thing. But we provide a few technical factors, and we're going to talk about this more on the next step for how you can fine-tune your assessment here. So we're going to look for relative strength, Chaikin money flow, and if we see a buy signal here, we're going to be aware of a significant trend, kind of like what we've seen here for Scanner Corp. So utilities have actually been doing pretty well lately, and I know it's more of a defensive group right now. At least historically, it's how it's been. It's almost like the equity version of the bond market, right? So in this case, you're not really looking for breakout growth, but you are looking for stability in such an uncertain market. So Scana here you can see has gone from the bottom left-hand corner of the page to the upper right-hand corner, at least since about September. What have we noticed at this time? Right when I have my separator here, all the technicals are in sync. Bullish power gauge rating, price above its long-term trend, Chaikin money flow. You might be wondering, again, this is something you've probably seen on CNBC or Bloomberg. This is how Mark Chaikin, again, came up with the idea of following larger institutions. This is his development that really became widely known. You've probably seen us on a few other technical analysis platforms before. So again, Chaikin money flow is a great way to identify what the patterns of larger institutions are doing. And you can clearly see in this case, after a long period of selling, how you have a period of momentum beginning and building up, and you've got a bullish run here, right? Same thing with relative strength. We're comparing how a stock's performing versus the overall market. Very simple here. Red to green, giving you some positive momentum. All things lining up when one of our signals comes into play here. We're a big fan of using Wyckoff patterns to set expectations. That's a big part of our engagement program. People come to us not just for our Chaikin Analytics platform, but really to find best practices with it. And I think when you consider one of the most important things is that you've got to have a plan. You've got to have expectations set. And I think Wyckoff does a great job of setting expectations for growth here. There will be series of ups and downs, but ultimately it's a matter of making higher highs and higher low points. Very, very important here, as you can see. How about a bearish point of view, right? So I like to say that if you know a classic bull, then you know a classic bear, right? Reason why you're looking for a bearish power gauge rating, poor relative strength, poor Chaikin money flow, and of course looking for a sell signal perhaps to open up a short play. I'm looking at Acadia today. This is a stock that I took notice of back around the end of December here. I'm going to show you how I found this in my screener later on. But for now, what I noticed about the reason why I liked it, especially at the end of December, is with very poor relative strength. You can see underperforming. Obviously, very bearish power gauge rating. Money flow going from positive down to negative. You can see that personality change there, and ultimately coming right into play with an overbought sell signal, right as the stock itself is overbought. So this is a wonderful time to open your position. Great time to enter, right? So if you think about timing, all of these technicals lining up in your favor really works out. And as you might expect, again, if you know a bullish Wyckoff pattern, you know a bearish one, whether long-term or short-term. The key thing, longer term, you're just looking for that series of lower highs and lower lows. Shorter term, you're looking to be in and out of here, maybe with a swing trade, beginning at a throwback, ending as redistribution is taking place, as will be identified by our technical factors. So that's our power gauge rating, leading us to the right stocks to assess. I'm going to put a little more emphasis now on timing, all right? Because just because we have hundreds of bullish stocks in our program doesn't necessarily mean that you should buy every single one of them, right? So this is why we have our technical factors to help you identify the right time to open a position, perhaps identify what we belovedly refer to as a personality change. Money flow and relative strength are great factors to identify these trends. So again, Is it time to take profits? There's a few examples that we refer to as stealth distribution, right? So as you might expect, when you see negative money flow, you might think, well, I would expect the price to eventually drop, but there tends to be a bit of a lag, and we're going to look at an example in a few moments. The key thing is watching institutions as they're slowly pulling money out, so that you're not left with the stock collapsing. From a bullish perspective, again, we'll look at depreciation in a moment, but what I want to share with you is ATO, so Atmos Energy. Again, another good, reliable utility stock that's been doing well in the market. Key thing here, obviously, with the power gauge rating being bullish, what you want to look for is making sure that it's sustaining its momentum, right? Right now, with how volatile the overall market is, what you've got to find is a bit of stability. And so take a look here at money flow, right? Chaikin money flow stays positive despite the market ultimately going into a pretty shaky period. So compare this to the money flow of the S&P 500. Again, what we're looking at here, I took a screenshot of money flow for the S&P 500. And notice as the market eventually built up, you had a nice run up here with the price of a lot of stocks coming out of the October frame. But notice what's happened here with a lack of positive money flow, right? Institutions instead sitting on the sidelines for the broader market, but staying positive here with this bullish stock. Again, Atmos Energy, very bullish. And you can see with a bullish a money flow buy signal just recently, you've had the value of the stock swing right on up there. So again, it's being able to identify these trends of institutions and what they're doing compared to the average market. Now, I mentioned earlier personality change. This is one of my favorite topics. This is something that will be your favorite topic too, once you understand what we mean by personality change and how to spot them. So what we're looking for is that loser stock that you really haven't had much of a trading range with, right? It hasn't really picked up much momentum, but you're looking for those initial signs for a potential turnaround. And relative strength, as well as money flow, can be really, really helpful for spotting those changes before the stock's price takes off. So this is a wonderful illustration of both a personality change positive as well as negative here. Let's talk about Assurant for a minute. So Assurant is a stock that I found right around the June timeframe here. Now, it's a stock that's been outperforming its long-term trend. As you can see, power gauge rating was bullish for a month. I love waiting for a power gauge rating to be bullish for at least a 3 to 4 week time frame, because that tells me that it's here to stay, right? It's persistent with its character. Trend here with money flow, you can see institutions going right on up. Relative strength, underperforming up to positive. Again, notice here how relative strength isn't significantly positive here, but you are seeing the transition, right? And that's really what we want to get in for, because ultimately you want to be here for this run, as opposed to perhaps buying the stock in late July after you missed the bus. Then you get stopped out by the whole market initial correction here. So it's a couple of months before you even get your money back, let alone starting to make a positive run here. And again, very helpful by being able to identify our buy and sell signal here with money flow. So that doesn't hurt either. Now, the entire time you're holding the stock, right? Why is that? Because you have a bullish power gauge rating. Forward thinking. Remember, bullish power gauge rating has future performance. Ultimately, you find that the stock starts to break down and you're starting to think, well, perhaps its time is up. You see institutions are also giving up on the stock. You see the stock started underperforming the market, and even still it's in positive territory, but you're certainly losing money regardless. So the key thing is getting out, especially as you see an overbought position starting to present itself here. So all of these technical factors, again, when are wonderful for complementing a stock's overall rating. Oh no, by the way, of course, you can see the power gauge rating no longer being positive here. So this is how we help guide you in and out of a position. Wonderful demonstration here for an entry point and then ultimately your exit point as well. Now, at Chaikin Analytics, we're a big fan of showing testimonials, right? I can sit here and holler all day about how wonderful a program is, but it really doesn't mean much unless we have it coming from an objective point of view. So what I'm showing you right now is a screenshot right from my inbox, right from my email. And I censored out the information, the contact information for the gentleman who sent it to me. But I wanted to make sure his message was shared with you. And so obviously you can see here how he mentions back in November, since I've been using Chaikin Analytics, I've been able to clean out my losing stocks, right? So jump the losers and then increase my gains considerably. He's described himself as a very conservative investor. He's also swing trading. Your webinars in the program have given me the confidence needed. You're going to see that term confidence come up a lot today. It has also given me a structured way to invest and make profits instead of losses. I couldn't write it any better myself here. I was thrilled when I saw this email, and this is the experience you can have. I mean, remember the position I was in before I joined Chaikin. I learned a lot of what I know from investing right from Mark Chaikin and John Schlitz. This is the methodology that has made both of them so successful. I'm at the point now where I'm pretty much just the messenger. I'm here to share with you the steps from A to B to C in order to have a structured approach. And at the end of the day, have you make money. That's all we're here to do in the overall market. And as you can see with this example, as well as a few others to come, just how successful we've been able to do that with a lot of our subscribers. So those are what we have to say. That's essentially what we have to say here regarding the Chaikin power gauge rating, as well as our technical factors here, right? So Chaikin money flow and relative strength. But what we really need right now is guidance, right? We need to have an outlook for the market. You need a clear cut tool that helps you do this. So we're going to spend some time now, and I did a little extra preparation to break down what we can anticipate throughout February using a whole combination of factors that we bring to you within our Chaikin Analytics program, right? Remember, we're not just providing you with a single rating. We're not just providing you with individual charts, but instead we're giving you a full package of guidance that will greatly benefit you as you navigate through the overall market. So our belief is that the market has about a 75% influence on the performance of underlying stocks, right? Again, a lot of the subscribers I talk to each day, especially the newer ones, usually like to begin conversations with individual stocks, and we'll get to those soon. But the key thing is that you've got to understand the environment that you're trading in, right? So you've got to know, if you're going to play golf on a given day, you've got to know if it's going to be 70 degrees out or if it's going to be 15 degrees out. You've got to know if there's rain in the forecast or if it's going to be a sunny day. All right. The key thing is that the market, the overall market, plays its role in giving us a sense for the overall conditions of the market. Is it safe to go out from a bullish perspective? Is it safe to go out from a bearish perspective? And when should I close my position as a whole? All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, let's remember, with our program, you can analyze individual ETFs with our technical charts. And this is exactly what we want you to do with the S&P 500 in our program. So notice here as a whole, you can obviously, I think we're all familiar with the 12-month look at the overall market. You can see, of course, a huge breakdown that anticipated right at the end of the year and right when we were in an overbought position, right? At the same time, you had institutions trending right on down, right? Going from positive down to negative. You can see that trend leading into a wonderful opportunity to go bearish. Whether you're shorting the market, whether you're shorting some individual bearish stocks, whether you're buying puts or any other kind of bearish strategy, you can clearly see that as the market leads into this position, it's a wonderful time to strike. All right. Now, in addition to the technicals, the power gauge rating comes in handy as we analyze individual sectors, right? So certainly everyone's attention is on energy. And yes, I'm going to talk about energy in a few moments as well, the overall condition of the sector. But think about utilities. I showed you two utility stocks that have been doing really well. Why is that? Because the overall sector has been doing moderately well, right? So from a short-term perspective, if you're looking for relief, and maybe go ahead, if this is something that you're looking for right now in the market, go ahead and let me know. I mean, like I said, I'm going to go through all the questions at the end of our session. I'm going to make sure we talk through them. So if you're looking for a place to put your money right now, if you are in some stocks right now that are a bit of a concern for you, let me know. And I kind of want to get a sense for really what your goals are as of today. Do you need to get out of some weak positions that you have, or maybe you're just curious to know when to put money to work and maybe what stocks I might want to do that with. But in the meantime, what we're going to help you do to be able to narrow down and identify individual stocks is to talk about some specific sectors here: utilities, financials, technology. Now, with ETFs, we benefit because we can analyze the underlying stocks within each one. And so what I'm interested in is, where are most of the bulls at? Where are most of the bears at, right? So if I'm going to go bearish, a reflection of the condition of the overall market right now is the fact that majority of these groups here are overwhelmingly bearish, right? So one other thing to think about is, well, with the market being mostly bearish, maybe I'll be better off if I just short the market or short some individual stocks and buy puts on them, as opposed to taking my chance on a bullish strategy, right? So that's another way to think about it here. And as you can see right here. And then of course, maybe there are some beginners in the crowd, right? Maybe you're probably you've been investing for the first time for maybe a couple of months, or maybe you're feeling some serious bravado and maybe you want to start investing for the first time now. Um, Either way, we can help you with guidance and understanding of the market. Now's a great time to get a sense for where we're headed. The glue that puts all of this together is the commentary right from Mark Chaikin and John Schlitz. And again, this is part of your subscription when you decide to join Chaikin Analytics. So this commentary, in addition to the charts and the sectors, is included in your subscription. Now, as you can see, plenty of comments, plenty of details right from Mark Chaikin on a weekly basis. John Schlitz also provides his technical insights on a daily basis. So if you are interested in shorter term day-to-day moves, John will provide you that assessment. Mark will give you some more longer term guidance as well. So allow me, if you don't mind, to put all of this together, right? So we have a chart of the SPY and we have our different sectors here. Well, let's remember from Sunday, Mark was telling us that in order to find a recovery point in the market back in September, we needed a W-shaped bottom. You can see that here, right? Well, Mark's saying, again, we need a W-shaped bottom. Well, what has begun to form here? Looks like the letter W to me, right? So you can see the second leg starting to present itself, if you're noticing here, all right? Some other points that Mark gave us. Sharp rallies like the previous week, right? What kind of points can we look for as the second leg begins to develop? Well, possible 1950. Obviously, with the ETF here, we're looking at 195. And then ultimately, again, retesting the 1800, 1820 area, perhaps right down here. So this is giving you a specific price point to watch for. And what will this be guided by? Look at our overbought, oversold position. If I go back here and we look back at the previous W-shaped bottom, which again is summarized by a fear-based sell-off and then an institutional sell-off, you can see that both points were guided by an overbought position, oversold position, overbought, and then again oversold with the huge breakout here. As we've seen so far, just like the end of December, overbought position here, oversold position as we started to make that second leg develop. And as you'll notice, again, we're on our way back up to an overbought position. So this guidance right from Mark, again, is crucial in order to identify what kind of market we're dealing with here. Finally, one thing to keep an eye out for on a week-to-week basis is ultimately, you recall last week, once we hit about that 1820 area on the S&P 500, once we hit about there, we started to see a bit of a breakout. And so ultimately, what is our expectation for this week? Can the market hold its gains? Certainly after 2 o'clock today, it looks like the market coughed up all the positivity that it had going for it. Let me see if I have a screenshot. Here it is. So ultimately for today, you can see initial breakdown, great recovery, and then the Fed announced, and then it all hit the bed. So unfortunately. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill down a bit. That, by the way, I should say that's a wonderful way to get a sense for where the market is headed. And again, now more than ever, we need that guidance on the market, just because ultimately, again, 75% influence on the performance of an underlying stock, absolutely crucial for helping you determine whether you should be bullish or whether you should be bearish, especially if you're trading for short-term purposes. Energy. So the question of the year, the question of almost 2 years now is, has energy found the bottom, right? Clearly, I think we are all realizing hasn't yet. And again, that's the position that I think we all maintain here. Overall energy down yet again today, with majority of bearish stocks, not a single bull, right? All year long, I spoke with new subscribers, people who are brand new to the program, who told me, I bought an energy stock. I thought oil was going to hit the bottom. It's continuing to plummet. Well, if you're using Chaikin Analytics, you'll see that we're not bullish on a single energy stock here. Looking at relative strength, how has energy done compared to the average market? Not a single day where you would have been better off with energy than you would have with the overall market. An example for how you can make money with a bearish stock, for example, Kinder Morgan, a real kind of flag bearer for how poor the overall sector as well as individual stocks have been. You can see Kinder Morgan down yet again today, 4.5%, and we're helping you out by identifying when to strike, right? So sell signal coming into play here for an overbought position. Stocks overwhelmingly bearish, as you can see, since about the beginning of May. Prices below its long term, very poor institutional strength, overbought position, and you're here for a short play. You're here to buy puts. You're here back again a couple of months later in an overbought position. Yes, you have institutions going positive here, but overall not being duped by the power gauge rating as it stays bearish. And then one more time again back in November. As you're in an overbought position, institutions give up on the stock again. And of course, power gauge rating maintains bearish the entire time, and we're still bearish on Kinder Morgan. This is the guidance that everyone needs in the market. So let me know what you thought about that. If there are any details about the overall market, I'll be happy to answer questions about that during our Q&A session. I mean, honestly, a GoToWebinar is fantastic. If you do have any questions that maybe I'm not able to provide an answer for, I'll be happy to follow up with you tomorrow or Friday. But feel free to fire away with your questions. I'll be happy to demonstrate and go over them during our Q&A session. So during that demonstration, I think some of the questions you guys might have probably involve our signals, the buy and sell signals, right? Again, I went through, glanced at some of the questions, some of the responses, and I certainly understand and empathize with the fact that finding an entry point and an exit point is extremely challenging. But again, I'm here to help you identify these buy and sell signals and how we can lead you to the right point to time your trade. We have 6 pairs of buy and sell signals. What we do is highlight one trend, one specific trend for the technical factors that we've been talking about so far. Overbought, oversold, momentum, money flow, relative strength. All of these are identified right within our charts. We're just here to be a guiding hand for you to identify when there's a significant trend there. So again, having a disciplined approach, kind of like that other, the email that I just showed you a few minutes ago, having a disciplined approach is crucial, right? Being guided by bullish power gauge rating, starting there. And when you see one with a buy signal, it can be a great opportunity to determine whether to open a position or not. Certainly, when you go over all the different technical factors here, but this is a great way to identify when a strong trend is beginning so that you can perhaps find an entry point or add to a pre-existing position that you may already have. Both bullishly as well as bearishly, most of the conversations I have with people, again, they're looking to short the stock at the right time. Wynn Resorts is a stock that's had an awful 2015 and has continued through 2016 as well. You can see back here over the summer, a weak stock leading into a weak market, great opportunity to open a position. But what I'll also mention here, again, is think about the guidance you need, is that you do have oversold positions for bearish stocks. You can see how shorting a stock like Wynn at the end of September really worked against you. If you have these technicals in your favor, if you're looking at these, we're preventing you from making a bad mistake. Now, some of you might be part-time investors. Some of you are probably full-time investors. Maybe you're full-time trading. I know we have a lot of retirees who are really just looking for some extra income in retirement. I think Chaikin Analytics is perfect for that. Maybe if you are, again, working working full-time, but you're doing an investment on the side here. Well, one of the ways that we help you is that we do provide you with a 3-day summary of any significant trends that impact your portfolio. Of course, you can add your portfolio to Chaikin Analytics, get a quick snapshot, or you can analyze a specific sector, right? So here's the energy group, the energy ETF. So I'm looking at all the stocks within that ETF, and I'm looking at any significantly bearish trends. And I can see just this week, if I look through, that there have been a number of sell signals in energy. So again, if you're wondering with all of the news that's going on, all of the speculation regarding energy, gas prices, crude oil, you name it, if you have Chaikin Analytics, you have the guidance to continue to be bearish on the overall sector as well as underlying stocks so that you can profit in this market. Classic bulls and bears. So this is another place where I help determine when to open a position. So we have a screener available. We allow you to search through and navigate through a whole variety of content that's available. So you think about power gauge ratings, think about the trend lines in our program. All of these technical factors, once you identify what's most important, and of course I'm here to help with that as well as Michelle, I should say, is ultimately our signals will help you identify the right point to open a position. Which significantly bearish stocks should I consider opening a put on, right? And again, if you're looking at the market, which is fantastically thorough with using Chaikin Analytics, you can identify the right point to look for an overbought position. Now, what's the best way to find stocks that are in an overbought position? Look for an overbought sell signal. Great opportunity in order to fine tune your timing. And again, opening a position, there's a lot of work that goes into that. But with our screener here, This is a screen that I ran back on December 30th, right? And again, this is one that's worked out so well. Bearish market, looking for bearish stocks at an overbought position. You can see most of them right now. All except for one of them was down yet again today. These are stocks I was looking at a whole month ago, right? And again, they've continued to decline. You can look up any one of these if you'd prefer. You can look at their price charts. The key thing is that I know some of them have gone up a little bit this week, but you'll also find that they're also oversold, right? So it's a wonderful time to get out when you see that the market is starting to recover just a little bit. Okay. Moving along here, Esterline Technology is another great example for a stock that's guided by our signals. You can see back over in June as well as in September, stocks that have broken down, especially with the huge gap back in June. It was a great opportunity here. Stocks have been mostly bearish. Look at relative strength. I mean, if you look closer here, I mean, it's a no doubter. You can see just how. Let me see. Let me get my drawing tools here. Slightly positive down to negative, right? And then you're really struggling here. Money flow again. Institutions starting to pull out right before the gap down here. Chaikin Analytics right by your side with the sell signal here, as well as the power gauge rating, of course. One of the testimonials we got regarding this trade, 8,000 in 2 days. You're going to see with Chaikin Analytics, I'm going to make you an offer in a few minutes to join our program, to join our analytics, and ultimately attend our support sessions. Tomorrow's an action-packed day, by the way, so I want to make sure that I inform you for some of the sessions I'll be hosting. But you can see how some of the returns that we're getting here really do pay for your subscription and much, much more in a single trade, and especially in the thick of earnings. We're about to get into earnings in a minute too. Here's a gentleman who did pretty well. Bought puts on Wednesday for $1,700, sold them in the morning for $10,000. So it's a wonderful return on just a single trade here. And that was actually on that Esterline Technology trade. What other opportunities are out there like Esterline Technologies? I know that one's from back in June. Well, you know what? It's been about 7 months now. Let's go and find something new here. So let's go ahead and jump into our earnings plays and how Chaikin Analytics can help you find an opportunity. So here's a screen that I like to use for earnings. Remember, earnings is one of the main categories that we use in order to determine our overall power gauge rating. Well, here's an example for what I like to use. Let me see here. Power gauge rating, I'm looking for a very bearish, but specifically, I'm also interested in that earnings factor, right? So I take the earnings category, and I also want to make sure that one of the leading reasons why a stock is bearish is because of how poorly it's reported on earnings. So this is a wonderful way where you can find opportunities. Again, we're in earnings season right now. I'm looking at Bloomberg. They're talking about Amazon, how they reported. They were talking about Facebook earlier. So these are stocks that currently, if you think about it, if you join our program soon, you can take action on a lot of these stocks. You can run this screener within a matter of minutes. The key thing, of course, I want to find relevant opportunities. So what I'll do is I'll jump down to fundamentals. I'll look at earnings date here. I want to make sure it's reporting earnings within the next week. Fortinet. All right, so this is a really cool example. So Mark Chaikin in his commentary, he provides a stock of the week pick. So giving you a leading indicator for whether you should be looking at X, Y, or Z stock, and he'll give you plenty of reasons why. Well, Fortinet is a stock. Let's focus our attention over here on the right-hand side of the page. That's obviously been having a rough go of it lately. And in fact, just recently it turned bearish, right? Well, Fortinet's due to report earnings today. And so what Mark suggested is use our options play program. If you're wondering what you're looking at here, this is our options dashboard. If you're wondering what strategy is best for you, what strategy you can use in order to really maximize your trade, we give you a side-by-side comparison of different option strategies you can use. Not only that, if you look down at the bottom of the page here, you can customize your price point. You can modify your expiration date for your options. All of these are available to modify right here. So it's a wonderful program. If you guys have questions about this, I'll be happy to demonstrate it during our Q&A session. Let me see if I can get this off here. Bear with me for just a second. Hang on. I'll be back in just a moment. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. Okay, cool. So So here's Mark's commentary for stock of the week and why he decided to go with it. Ultimately, stock reported due earnings on Thursday. So again, if you get in with Chaikin Analytics tonight, you can get more details about this trade and perhaps go in on it for tomorrow. Reporting earnings on, like I said, Thursday, currently an opportunity in the $28, $29 range. You can see it got a sell signal actually just yesterday. So again, Mark getting ahead of the signals. That's one of the best signs of success with our program. Some more details. Stock has gone from being excessively overhauled and overvalued, and lower expectations by analysts may be easier to beat. If guidance is poor, expect the stock to make new lows in the $20, $22 range area. So you can imagine that's quite a drop off from where the stock is headed. So again, this is the guidance that we provide you, not just for the overall market, but for individual stocks, as well as some individual strategies that you can use. Also, here's a recent one. I mentioned I always have my eye on Bloomberg. I like it a lot. And they just talked about Facebook. So Facebook reported earnings, and Facebook we're neutral on. It's been doing well, but as a whole, with growth, we're kind of mediocre with it in terms of its confidence. But notice here for earnings that we are very bullish on earnings. One of the reasons why we're preventing ourselves from growing bearish on it is because it always does well with earnings. Well, Facebook had a down day today, down about 3%, but it reported positively, just like we would have expected. And it's actually up 5.5% today. I noticed it probably 5 minutes before the webinar started, but I wanted to make sure I hurried up and got this in here. So if you're interested in wondering where Facebook is and how it's been performing, it's had a pretty good day in the market today after reporting earnings. And here's the thing, we hear it from you regarding performance with earnings and how to profit from them. First 2 days of using Chaikin, more than paid for annual subscription. Then in the second week, made over $15,600 on 3 earnings plays. If you're familiar with trading earnings, trading options on earnings, you know that it can be a huge cash cow. It's very risky, but again, just like anything else, you do need guidance, and I think we just saw how we just demonstrated how we provide that to you. Yelp, right? So Yelp is, I think we're all familiar with it. It's a program that gives you ratings for different restaurants and services and different establishments. Obviously, the stock, though, has been doing very poorly. One of the biggest home runs that we hit in 2015, one of our subscribers hit, and this especially was Mark's stock of the week pick, was when it triggered a sell signal back in the middle of July and ultimately gapped down when it reported earnings. Institutions were really weak on it, probably really poor on it, and then ultimately went positive when it did gap down. Relative strength was awful. Power gauge rating, never a doubt. And ultimately, when it did report, we got a wonderful email from a gentleman here. He actually went as far as sending us a screenshot from his trading account. Netted $17,400 in the morning, right? Had more success with Chaikin in the first 2 weeks of using our program than he did in the entire first part of the year. Biggest winner was Yelp, based on Mark's bearish play of the week, as you can see right here. Risked $7,000, netted $17,408. So, options and screener additions. Again, we're hearing a lot of wonderful feedback. This is an example of the developments that we made. Again, we're committed to prioritizing, again, further technical developments with our program throughout 2016. One of the biggest things right now that we're focused on is giving you a power gauge rating for our ETFs. Again, right now we demonstrated how overall options as well as the screener can help you find wonderful opportunities and save you time. But as a whole, we're looking to provide you that analysis for ETFs as well, even though I think as we've seen today, just how wonderful it can already be without it. So that's it. Those are the 5 steps that we're taking. Those are the 5 things that are on our mind. I think the big emphasis on market as well as earnings are the 2 big things. But again, it all stems from market analysis, and I think it's very important to put all this into perspective. I have a few more bits to go over with you today. I definitely want to share with you a few more success stories. I want to make you an offer for joining Chaikin, but let me know what you think of the webinar so far. Give me a yes or a thumbs up if you think this is pretty cool. Give me some boos or some vile abuse if you think this is no good. I'm open to both sets of feedback, and I really want to hear from you. So take some time. Let me know what you think so far. If you do have questions, if you think something's not adding up, if there's something I haven't addressed yet, I know there's a lot of content to cover, so I probably missed a couple of things, but if something's not making sense, take a second to go ahead and ask a question using GoToWebinar. I'll be happy to go through it during the Q&A session. I want to share with you a few more emails though in the meantime. So if you are sending vile abuse my way, think about some of the emails I'm about to show you first. So this is a really good one that I got at the beginning of the year. You guys are the best at what you do. Number one source for advisory information in the market. Analytics platform is simply amazing. Best of the breed, getting better every day. Keep up the good work here. This is a really good one, especially at the beginning of the year. I know it's been a rough year, but again, this is a gentleman who's obviously done well with a program prior and is likely doing well heading into 2016 also. So what we want you to do the next step, once you've submitted a question, once you submitted your feedback, your commentary, I want you to join me tomorrow because tomorrow's a full day for me. I'm going to hit it right at 8:30 Eastern time. We're going to do a pre-market session. We're going to analyze the market similar to what we did today, but I think I have more to add based on the Fed decision from last night. So we're going to put all of that, from this afternoon. So we're going to put all that in perspective. We'll talk about, again, we'll go more in depth. There's a lot that I cut out from Mark's article for Market Insights. So I'm going to go through a lot of those comments too with you. And then, of course, personal coaching sessions. I do one-on-ones a lot. And of course, I would love to have you schedule a session with me to go one-on-one over your investment strategy, how you've done before, and really just express a lot of the challenges that you've been experiencing. The big thing is making sure I can talk with you about what is difficult about being in the market, and then ultimately how Chaikin Analytics can be a solution for you. And then, of course, it's just about applying it to your methodology. The hardest part is pulling the trigger. The hardest part is taking action. And trust me, I totally empathize with that. I know it's not easy, but again, that's why we have a whole support program here, answer all the questions that you have, and ultimately give you some pretty reliable guidance for where to go in the market as well as some underlying stocks. Chaikin Analytics is available on desktop as well as an iPad. So right now you're all watching me probably on a web browser. So if you're on this webinar, you can use Chaikin Analytics. If you have an iPad too, we have an iPad app. It's pretty cool. I know Mark and Sandy really enjoy using it as they're walking around the office and just checking on things. Maybe if you're just walking around the house, you like to keep your iPad handy. We do have an app for that to help. I keep talking about how I'm going to make you an offer. Well, here it is. Chaikin Analytics is available for a full year at $17.50 for Chaikin. Sorry, real quick. Let me go ahead and make a quick alteration to this. To take advantage of my deal for today, just enter down here the / Joe. I know we have a lot of coupon codes going out there. The one for Swing is already outdated, but if you want to take advantage for $17.50 for a full year to Chaikin, again, think about the guidance that you need in the market. Where are we headed from here? Are we going into a bear market, or are we just going through a bit of a correction and the bull market sustained? All right, there's plenty of details that we can help you with. The key thing instead, again, is make sure that you have the right path to go through. Again, I mentioned tomorrow at 8:30, we're going to do pre-market session. All of our sessions are recorded. So if you're on the West Coast, I know it's a pain to get up at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time. So that translates to 5:30. We do record all of our sessions though. The key thing is just getting a session in before the market opens. I want to make sure I always give time for people in case they need to make changes in their portfolio. But they're really great. The back and forth sessions, any kind of questions you have, they're really fun to do. We're also going to be doing 11 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to do an options session. So we're going to talk about Mark's pick. Obviously, the stock's reporting earnings tomorrow after the close. So we're going to look and see how that does, as well as a few other stocks you guys have to request. By the way, if there are any stocks anyone wants to talk about during today's webinar, just go ahead and chat them in. I'll be happy to go through them with you. And then finally, as always, every day we host a daily workshop. It's called an onboard session, but it's really an opportunity to kind of fine tune your skills for using Chaikin. It's a great opportunity for anyone who's new to the program. If you're not sure how to access sectors, if you're not sure what to enter into the screener, I'm there with you live every afternoon to go through all of your questions and to cover the basics for analyzing a stock. So it's really fun stuff. Another email, again, this is a cool one. This is one I got, I think it was December actually. So this is one that I really, really appreciate this one. I'm including all this information down here for a reason. So here's an example for a gentleman who made $700 on his first put option yesterday. That's great. So he made 700, put up 500. So nice. That must be about a 40% return. Not too bad. Just one put option though. If I wasn't so nervous, this would have been $7,000 from a $5,000 investment. And again, think about that. The confidence that we provide to you, very, very important. here's what he mentions down here. Thanks again for giving me the confidence I never had in stock and option trading through Chaikin. I sometimes wonder how people miss a tool this accurate, and how you give it away for free. Obviously, we don't give it away for free, but pretty much because 1,900 plus the cost of subscribing is pretty much nothing compared to the ROI you get. I know it sounds like a lot for a subscription, right? If you think that's a lot of money, okay. But think about there's a reason that you go into the marketing, you take action. It's to make not just that money back, but to profit in the market. Anyone who comes to Chaikin Analytics and subscribes, and at the end of their year they say, "Well, I made my money back," but that's not the goal we have for you. We have a goal for you to not just outperform and profit, but to also outperform the overall market. And you can see here very early on with some initial trades, you can accomplish these results. And the thing I really like most about this, if you go down to the bottom here, the reason why I included this portion is this gentleman attended his onboarding session back in November. So this is somebody who, again, attended one of my sessions, did really well, found some opportunities, profited, and was generous enough to express his gratitude. So I always love hearing the feedback. Results have never been better. Performance in poor markets. Again, we have a subscriber, Bob. He's one of the first guys I started talking to when I joined the company about a year ago. I know he's been with our program since the very beginning. And one of the first phone calls that I had from him, he called me up and he said, "Do you guys do any 5-year plans?" And I was like, "A 5-year plan, like 5 years out, like for management, for stocks?" He's like, "No, 5-year subscriptions, because ultimately my results have never been better in the market." And ultimately, I love hearing that because certainly this gentleman is an experienced investor, but the thing he's needed is that GPS in order to navigate through. So one more thing I want to emphasize, of course, you're getting an extra $1,000 worth of content in your program here. Chaikin Insights, commentary from Mark Chaikin and John Schlitz. Don't forget about that. Small group sessions that I host again on a daily basis. Remember tomorrow, pre-market, options, and of course, open forum session. And of course, John Schlitz is available for me live every Monday afternoon for an open forum. So it's always great to have him here as well. I've rambled on a lot today, a lot of content, a lot of different challenges that people face, the current situation in the market. I hope you all saw some clarity for where we're going forward. But think about where you're going to be a month from now, right? Think about where your portfolio is going to be a month from now, right? Maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, right? Right now, I give you a little bit for where February is headed, right? But I want you to think that if all we provided to you is guidance on the market for, being able to avoid pain in the market or being able to identify that next opportunity to buy in and profit, I wanted to think, would that be worth it for you to join the program? Because I think what we provide here is a very unique solution, right? It's a very thorough program. I always like being detailed. I always try my absolute hardest to be as completely transparent as I can, especially with our subscribers. But if that is of value to you, I want to know if it's worth you to join the program, because I think it's helped hundreds of subscribers, thousands more that we joined in 2015. And again, leading into 2016, look, 2012, 13, and 14, those were all very easy years, right? When I was at Vanguard, again, my 401k was just going right through the roof. And I didn't really know why. I was like, hey, the stock market's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool stuff. But anybody could have found a stock that grew. As we head into 2016, it's as important as it's ever been right now to have clarity in where we're headed. And I think through the examples we showed today, I hope I was able to convince you that we can do a really good job of that. So will you be our next success story? Right? ChaikinAnalytics.com/Joe. Again, /Joe. You can take advantage of that deal, or you can talk to one of our wonderful sales guys, Dan and Harrison are standing by. I think Tony and Mike are there too. Phone number 877-697-6783, 877-697-6783. If you're on the East Coast, it's been a warm day. You finished shoveling, so the next step for you right now is to go ahead and join our program. If that's not good enough for everything I've spoken about so far, I'm going to do an extra $100 for you. And again, that's for a full year. This will expire by midnight. My boss is always motivating me by taking action now. And I thought it was a pretty fair idea that if we do add an extra $100 off of a subscription for, again, taking action by midnight. Because again, tomorrow, very busy day. I'm going to be in the office right at 8 o'clock. I actually have another webinar tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to hit it again tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning. And I want you to be there with me tomorrow morning, because once you subscribe, it takes about 15 minutes, I would say, You subscribe, you have your username, you have your password, you're able to log in anywhere with 10 to 15 minutes after you subscribe. And certainly we have plenty of time between now and tomorrow morning. So sales at chaikinanalytics.com is another cool way you can reach us. Or again, phone call 877-697-6783, Chaikin Analytics /Joe. Yeah, no 750. Okay, let me go ahead and switch over to my Chaikin Analytics account. And let's see, we'll talk a little bit about what you can find in the program here. I'm going to take a moment, so I apologize if there's a brief pause right now, but I want to go through some of the questions you guys have. Cool, I'm seeing a lot of yeses. That's good. All right. Let me see what we have here. Cool, I'm seeing a lot of greats. I'm hoping that was in reference to some of the sessions. All right. Let's talk about, I see Brian has a question here regarding MET. This is a stock I haven't looked at yet, but I'm going to go ahead and take a flyer on it. Let's see. MetLife, a financial stock. I know financial and insurance have been pretty rough here. So one of the important things to note here is that with his question specifically is, hey, it was bullish a couple days ago. How come it's neutral now? The key thing is that we're looking overall at the momentum here. Now, if you look at the power gauge rating, certainly it's a bit more bullish rather than neutral, but we're really concerned about the fact that it's below its long-term trend. What we're looking at here is volume, ultimately. In short, to answer your question here, Brian, is we're looking for volume in the overall trend. Now, like you pointed out, money flow is very weak. Relative strength is also very weak. And we're really concerned about the fact that it's below its long-term trend. There is some positive momentum going on here for the overall stock. But again, as we look for here is that as persistent as the power gauge rating is, we really want to, let me rephrase that. We want to see persistency in the power gauge rating in order to do well. And so from this perspective, again, we want to give it a little bit more time until we're ready to go in on the stock here. Let's see. This is a web-based app, Robert. So if you have, I use Google Chrome. I usually pull up my program using Chrome just because I think it's quickest and fastest. Let's see. Nikita has a question about signals. Let's go ahead and see if I can, let me look for an opportunity. I'm going to go over AIZ with you, actually. So this is a stock we are looking at for your entry point and your exit point. If you're looking for the history of stocks when they triggered a signal, here's your oversold buy signal here. And I like the way that it works in both of these cases. Oversold buy in particular really helps you with fine-tuning your entry point, all right? So what I mean by this here is obviously back in the springtime, early summer, you can see the stock breaking out above its long-term trend, but notice here how it's overbought. Type in yes. Let me know if you ever had the experience. Everyone should be typing yes here, unless you're just the best trader in the world. But if you ever had the opportunity where you've seen a stock do really well, like AIZ did, and then it's almost like you decide to buy it on May 18th, and then it just stops doing well. It stops growing. If that's a familiar feeling, if you've had to deal with that, type in yes, because again, I'm raising my hand right now, and there's a lot of people out there who keep saying, I saw a stock do really, really well, and it's almost like just because I bought it, because Dave or John or Mary bought the stock, it stopped growing. Isn't that a very frustrating, painful feeling? Well, we can help you here by identify that yes, it's a good stock to look for growth in, but it's overbought. So even remember that Wyckoff pattern again. When you're looking for a series of higher high points, you've got to accept that there will be times where the stock doesn't grow. And so instead, when our buy signal comes into play here, we're letting you know that, hey, the stock's oversold again. You might want to look here for an opportunity for growth. In the same sense, back here with this buy signal, what we really want to help you do is get out at the right point. Here's a time where oversold buy signal comes into play down an oversold position. Yes, you have negative money flow here. You're approaching a neutral position, but we don't want you to sell down here at the close of 80, almost 81 here. Rather, if you hang on to it, you can get out at 80, well, about 81 and change. Here it is, 82 instead. So we can really help you with fine tuning, helping you prevent yourself from pulling the trigger before it's too early or if it's too late. One stock that I think about a lot too is Southwest. Southwest is a stock that's done really well over the past 5 years. You can see over the past 2 years, ultimately quadrupling its value. But right around this time, we still have this within the past 12 months. You can see how the stock, again, losing momentum below its long-term trend. Poor relative. Overall, the power gauge rating is gone neutral, no longer bullish. money flow negative, relative strength negative, and you're selling out of here at the overbought position as opposed to the oversold here. So IP2, this is one that was really, really strong. International Paper is a stock that, yes, has recently turned neutral, but notice how the stock has continued to break down. Poor money flow, poor relative strength, overbought position on the heels of another overbought position here. You can see there will be times where the signal doesn't exactly work as you hope it to be. Certainly market rallies like at the end of September, early October are a good way to avoid pain like this. But for the most part, again, there's pretty reliable history with the signals, especially with oversold, overbought, oversold. Let's see, what other questions can I get to? Let's see. If any current subscribers are on the line right now, you can access the registration page. Let me actually go ahead and show you. If you're interested in registering, focus in the upper right-hand corner and go to the user guide. You can see how easy it is to access this. And then ultimately, we have our resources page at the top. And all of our webinars are available here. You can see how quickly and easily you can access them. Pre-market session right here, one-on-one sessions. I have time available in February. Options are also available. Right now, we have about 100 people on the webinar. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to get to everyone's questions. But our small group sessions, we usually have about anywhere from 15 to, the most I've seen on a session is like 35 people. And in every one of those, I've been able to answer everyone's questions, or at least, if I need to talk to Mark to get an answer, if I need to talk to John, I can reach out to them and follow up. I have no problem doing that for our subscribers. But that's a great place where you can constantly get your questions answered. Again, we host sessions every afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern time. I know emails, I always invite people to send us emails with questions about the program, but you have that live opportunity every day to talk with me, to chat with me, whether it's obviously on a one-on-one session or if it's on a small group session. I love the small group sessions because you get to hear questions that you might not have thought of. You get to hear perspectives from other subscribers. If you're a short-term investor, right, there are longer-term investors there too to give you some perspective. If you're trading, if you're interested in learning options, there will be experienced options traders there in the group as well that you can get questions from. So it's a great way to expose yourself to new perspectives, which is why I really enjoy these small group sessions. And I think there is a tendency to be interested more in one-on-one sessions, which is, I agree, there's a reason why we have them. They're really important. But I think with a small group, you get to do some group learning. And as corny or as tacky as that might sound, it really is effective. So anyway, let's move along here. Awesome. The NSA knows everything. Yeah, I understand that, James. Nice. Let's see. Let me see. Can you see my program? All right, good. I have my screen showing. All right. Okay. I think everything else I'm seeing right now is just about those group sessions. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you all very much for attending. If you think of any questions afterwards, send me an email or give us a phone call. Again, the number, let me get the contact information up one more time. We're at the end of our webinar. Here you go. The number is 877-697-6783. Again, I know for sure Harris is still here. And Dan, a good buddy of mine, Dan France. If anybody's a current subscriber, you've hopefully spoken with Dan before. He's an awesome guy. I know they're both at least available. I'm pretty sure Tony's still here too if you want to talk with him. So feel free to give us a call. And again, we'll be happy to walk you through and go through any questions you still might have. Or if you just want to jump right in, which again, the sooner you do that, the sooner you can sign up for a session. Go to chaikinanalytics.com/Joe and we can meet up. So, all right, with that said, have a wonderful evening. Be safe and we'll talk to you next time.